My name is Jessica Park. I'm 32 years old. And 6 months ago, my older brother showed up at my door at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, crying so hard he could barely speak, begging me to co-sign a business loan for $85,000 or his family would lose everything. I'm talking about Daniel, my brother who raised me after our parents died, who paid for my college when I had nowhere else to turn, who let me live with him rent-free for 2 years while I got my accounting degree. The person I owed everything to. So when he stood in my doorway with tears streaming down his face, saying his restaurant was failing and the bank needed a cosigner with good credit or he'd lose his house, his business, everything he'd built, I didn't hesitate. "Of course I'll help you," I said, already looking for a pen. "You saved me. Now I save you." He hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. "You're saving my family, Jess, my kids. Thank you. I swear I'll pay every cent back. You won't regret this." I signed the papers. The next day, co-signed for $85,000. Put my name on a loan I couldn't afford to pay if anything went wrong. But Daniel was good for it. He had to be. He was my brother, the man who'd been more of a father to me than our actual father. The payments started coming out of his account like clockwork. For 3 months, everything was fine. Then month 4, I got a notification. Payment past due. I called Daniel. "Hey, the loan payment didn't go through. Did something happen with your account?" "Oh, shit, yeah, I forgot to transfer money. I'll handle it today. Don't worry." He sounded rushed, distracted, but not worried. I believed him. 2 weeks later, another notification. Account 60 days past due. Late fees applied. Credit score impact. I called again, texted, left voicemails, nothing. Then I drove to his restaurant, the one he told me was struggling, the one we'd taken the loan to save. Except when I got there, the building was empty. Not closed, not temporarily shut. Empty. A for lease sign in the window. No furniture inside, no kitchen equipment. Nothing. The restaurant had been closed for over a year. I stood on the sidewalk staring at that sign, and something in my brain just started screaming. If the restaurant closed a year ago, what the hell was the $85,000 for? Do you want to know how one late payment notification turned into me discovering my brother had never owned a restaurant, had been lying for years, and had used my name to fund a secret gambling addiction that destroyed both our lives? Stay with me until the end, and I'll tell you exactly how the person I trusted most turned out to be the biggest liar I'd ever known. I drove straight to Daniel's house. The house he said he'd lose if I didn't co-sign. The house where his wife and 2 kids supposedly depended on him keeping the restaurant afloat. When I pulled up, I expected to see toys in the yard, cars in the driveway, signs of the family I'd been trying to save. Instead, I saw a "for sale" sign, and the house looked empty. I sat in my car, hands shaking on the steering wheel, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Then I called my sister-in-law, Monica. She answered on the third ring. "Jessica? Hi, what's up? Where are you right now?" "At home, why?" "Which home?" Pause. "What do you mean, which home?" "Monica, I'm sitting outside your house right now. There's a for sale sign in the yard and it looks empty." "Where the hell are you?" Long silence. Then, quietly, "We moved 4 months ago. Didn't Daniel tell you?" My stomach dropped. "No, he told me you were about to lose the house, that's why I co-signed the loan." "What loan?" "The $85,000 business loan for the restaurant." Another silence. Longer this time. When Monica spoke again, her voice was shaking. "Jessica, Daniel's restaurant closed over a year ago. He hasn't worked there in months. And we moved because we downsized after—" She stopped. "I think you need to talk." "To Daniel." "Where is he?" "I don't know. We're separated. Have been for 3 months." The world tilted sideways. "You're separated? He didn't tell you any of this, did he?" "No." Monica took a breath. "The restaurant failed because Daniel was stealing from the business to gamble. Sports betting, online poker, I don't even know what else. He drained our savings, maxed out credit cards, refinanced the house twice. I finally left when I found out he'd taken out loans in my name without telling me. I felt cold. Loans? Plural. I'm still trying to sort it out with a lawyer. Jessica, if Daniel asked you to co-sign something, you need to check what you actually signed. Because my brother lied to me for 2 years about where money was going, and I didn't find out until debt collectors started showing up. I hung up and pulled out my phone, logged into my bank account, looked at the loan details I'd barely glanced at when I signed. And that's when I saw it. The loan wasn't for a restaurant. It wasn't even a business loan. It was a personal line of credit, unsecured, high interest, the kind of loan you take when no legitimate lender will touch you. And the purpose listed on the application, debt consolidation. Daniel hadn't been saving his restaurant. He'd been covering gambling debts. With my credit, my name, my financial future. I drove to the apartment address Monica had given me, a cheap complex on the east side, nothing like the neighborhood where Daniel used to live. Found his unit, knocked. He answered in a stained t-shirt, looking like he hadn't slept in days. When he saw me, his face went pale. "Jess, hey, I was going to call you. The restaurant's been closed for a year." He blinked. "What?" "The restaurant you said was failing. The one you needed $85,000 to save. I drove there today. It's empty. Has been for over a year." "I can explain. You're separated from Monica, living in a shitty apartment. And the loan I co-signed wasn't for a business. It was for debt consolidation." Daniel's shoulders sagged. "Jess, please come inside. Let me explain." "Explain here." "I had some bad luck. Sports betting. I thought I could win it back, but it got out of control. The loan was to pay off the worst of it before Monica found out. But then she left anyway, and now everything's falling apart." "You lied to me." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "You lied," my voice echoed in the hallway. "You told me the restaurant was failing. You cried in my doorway. You said your family would lose everything if I didn't help. All of that was bullshit. You were covering gambling debts. I was desperate. And now I'm stuck with an $85,000 loan I can't afford because you're not making payments." Daniel's face hardened. "I'll make the payments when I can. I'm trying to get back on my feet. You've missed 2 already. My credit score dropped 80 points. I'm getting late fee notifications. Daniel, I trusted you. And I'll fix it. Just give me time." "How much time? How much do you owe total?" He didn't answer. "Daniel, how much?" "About $250,000. The number hit me like a fist. "What?" "Credit cards, personal loans, the house refinances, money I borrowed from friends. It's all piling up. The $85,000 was supposed to consolidate the worst of it, but the interest is killing me, and I can't find work and—" "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop. You owe $250,000 and you thought taking out another loan in my name would fix it? I thought I'd have time to pay it back before you noticed." "Before I noticed. Daniel, it's my name on the loan. Every missed payment destroys my credit." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I'm your brother. You said you owed me. You said—" "I don't owe you this." I turned to leave. "Jess, please. If you go to the bank and tell them, they'll come after me. I'll lose everything." I looked back at him. "You already lost." "Everything! You just wanted to take me down with you." I walked away while he shouted apologies and excuses and promises he'd never keep. Got in my car, drove home, and started documenting everything. The first thing I did was call a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Morrison, same attorney who'd helped my coworker with a fraud case. I walked into her office with the loan documents, screenshots of the missed payments, and a timeline of every lie Daniel had told me. "My brother convinced me to co-sign a loan by lying about what it was for," I said. "And now he's not paying it. What are my options?" Patricia reviewed everything for 30 minutes. Then she looked up. "This is fraud. He misrepresented the purpose of the loan to get your signature. That's grounds for legal action." "Can I get my name off the loan?" "It's complicated. You did voluntarily sign, so the bank will say you're equally responsible. But if we can prove your brother committed fraud to obtain your signature, lied about material facts regarding the loan's purpose, we might be able to void your obligation. How do we prove that? Do you have anything in writing? Texts, emails, anything where he said the loan was for the restaurant? I pulled out my phone, showed her the text chain from the night he'd asked me to co-sign. Daniel. Jess, I need your help. Restaurant is failing. Bank says I need a co-signer or I lose everything. Can we talk? Me. Of course, come over. Daniel. Thank you. You're saving my business, my family. I won't forget this. Patricia screenshot it. This is good. He explicitly said the loan was for the restaurant. But the actual loan documents say debt consolidation. That's misrepresentation. What else do I need? Proof that the restaurant was already closed when he asked you to co-sign. Proof that he knew the loan wasn't for business purposes. And ideally, evidence of the gambling debts he was actually covering. I spent the next week becoming a private investigator in my own brother's life. I pulled business records showing Daniel's restaurant had closed 14 months before he asked me to co-sign, gathered screenshots of his sports betting accounts. He'd left himself logged in on a shared family iPad that Monica still had. Found credit card statements showing cash advances at casinos. I even found loan applications he'd filed in Monica's name without her knowledge, forging her signature on 3 separate occasions. My brother wasn't just a liar. He was a systematic fraudster who destroyed everyone close to him. Patricia compiled everything into a legal filing. We're going to sue him for fraud and request the court void your co-signer obligation. We're also filing a criminal complaint for the forged signatures on Monica's loans. Will he go to jail? Possibly. Depends on the DA. But at minimum, we can get a judgment against him and make sure the bank knows you were fraudulently induced into this loan. What happens to me in the meantime? You keep making payments if you can afford them to protect your credit, but document every payment. Because if we win, Daniel will owe you every cent back plus damages. I made the loan payments for 3 more months, drained my savings, picked up freelance accounting work on weekends, lived on ramen and rice, all while building a case against the person who'd once saved my life. It felt like betrayal, like I was being ungrateful, vindictive, cruel. Then I'd remember him crying in my doorway, lying to my face, using the goodwill he'd built up over 20 years to trick me into destroying my own financial future. And the guilt would turn back into rage. The lawsuit moved faster than I expected. Daniel didn't even hire a lawyer, just showed up to court alone looking worse than I'd ever seen him. Thin, shaky, desperate. When it was my turn to testify, I walked through everything. The late-night visit, the tears, the story about the failing restaurant. The loan documents that said something completely different. Did you know the restaurant was already closed when your brother asked you to co-sign? My lawyer asked. No, he told me it was failing and needed the loan to stay open. And if you'd known the truth, that the loan was to cover gambling debts, would you have signed? Absolutely not. Daniel's turn was worse. He admitted he'd lied, admitted the restaurant was closed, admitted the money went to gambling debts. But she's my sister, he said, voice breaking. I raised her. I thought she'd help me if she knew the truth, so I made it easier for her to say yes. The judge looked at him with open disgust. You made it easier by committing fraud. I was desperate. Desperation doesn't excuse deception. You lied to your sister about material facts regarding a loan that put her financial future at risk. That's fraud, Mr. Park. The ruling came 2 weeks later. The court found that Daniel had fraudulently induced me to co-sign through material misrepresentation. My co-signer obligation was voided. The bank would have to pursue Daniel alone for the debt. Daniel was also ordered to repay me the $8,500 I'd already paid on the loan, plus legal fees. And the DA filed criminal charges for the forged loan applications in Monica's name. Fraud, identity theft, forgery. Daniel was arrested 3 days after the civil judgment. Bail set at $50,000. He couldn't make it. Sat in county jail for 6 weeks before trial. I didn't go to the criminal trial, couldn't stomach watching my brother, the person who'd been my hero for most of my life, get sentenced to prison. But Monica did. She texted me updates. Monica. They showed the forged signatures side by side with my real ones, not even close. Monica. He's claiming addiction, saying he needs treatment, not prison. Monica. Judge isn't buying it. Said he had plenty of chances to get help before committing crimes. The verdict came back in 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing 2 weeks later. 3 years in state prison. Full restitution to Monica and me. Mandatory gambling addiction treatment. Probation after release. 3 years. My brother, who'd carried me on his shoulders as a kid, who'd taught me to drive, who'd walked me down the aisle at my wedding, going to prison because he couldn't stop gambling and couldn't stop lying. I cried when Monica told me. Not because I felt bad for him, because I felt bad for the version of him that used to exist. The good brother. The one who'd actually cared about protecting me instead of using me. That Daniel was gone. Maybe he'd never really existed. The aftermath was strange. Family members I barely knew started calling. Cousins, aunts, old family friends. Some were supportive. I'm so sorry he did that to you. Others were angry. How could you send your own brother to prison? I stopped, answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. The worst was my uncle, my dad's brother, who showed up at my apartment uninvited. You destroyed him, he said, the second I opened the door. Daniel made mistakes, but you could have worked it out privately. Instead, you got lawyers involved, sent him to jail, tore apart the family. He committed fraud. He forged Monica's signature on loans. He lied to me to steal my financial future. He's your brother. And I'm his sister. That should have meant something to him before he decided to scam me. Family forgives. Family doesn't lie about dying restaurants to trick you into co-signing loans for gambling debts. My uncle shook his head. Your father would be ashamed of you. That one hit. But I didn't let him see it. My father's dead. And if he were alive, maybe Daniel wouldn't have turned into a con artist who destroyed everyone who loved him. I closed the door, locked it, cried for an hour because the truth was, I didn't know if I'd done the right thing. I'd protected myself, yes, but I'd also sent my brother to prison, the person who'd raised me, the person I'd loved more than anyone. Therapy helped. Dr. Chen walked me through it. You didn't send him to prison. His choices did. You just refused to be collateral damage. But I could have just made the payments, taken the hit, let him get away with it. And then what? He racks up more debt, ruins more people, and you spend the rest of your life broke because you enabled him? I feel guilty. Guilt is normal, but guilt doesn't mean you were wrong. It just means you have a conscience. Your brother made sure you'd feel guilty no matter what you chose. That's part of how manipulation works. She was right, but it still hurt. The money came back slowly. The court ordered Daniel to pay restitution from prison wages, about $40 a month. At that rate, it would take 17 years to get my $1,500 back. But Monica had better luck. She sued for the forged loans and won a judgment that included seizing Daniel's car, his remaining possessions, anything of value. She got about $15,000 back of the $60,000 he'd stolen from her. It's not everything, she told me over coffee 6 months after the sentencing. But it's enough to start over. How are the kids? I asked. Confused? Angry. They don't understand why Dad's in prison. I tried to explain without making him sound like a monster, but it's hard. I'm sorry. Don't be, you didn't do this. He did. We sat in silence for a while. Then Monica said, I found a support group. For families of people with gambling addiction, it's helped. You should come sometime. Maybe. Jessica, you saved me. If you hadn't fought back, I would have thought I was crazy. That maybe I'd actually signed those loans and forgotten. Your lawsuit made me realize I wasn't wrong to leave. That he really was lying about everything. I hadn't thought about it that way. You gave me permission to protect myself, she continued. So, thank you. We hugged in the parking lot. Two women my brother had tried to destroy, both still standing. It's been 2 years since Daniel showed up at my door crying. I'm 34 now. My credit score recovered. Took 18 months, but it's back over 700. I paid off the debt I'd incurred making his loan payments, started saving again. Daniel has 1 more year in prison. He writes sometimes. Long letters full of apologies and promises to be better. I don't write back. Not because I hate him, but because I can't trust him. Maybe I never will again. Monica and I are close now. We get dinner once a month. Talk about our lives, our healing, our futures. Her kids are doing better. Therapy helped. They know their dad made bad choices, but they're not responsible for fixing him. Neither am I. Last month, I got engaged to someone who respects my boundaries, who doesn't ask me for money, who understands that love isn't measured in co-signed loans. When I told him about Daniel, about the fraud and the trial and the guilt, he said, "You protected yourself. That's not betrayal, that's survival." He's right, because here's what I learned. Family doesn't mean you're obligated to drown with someone who's sinking. It doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your future to fix someone else's past. It doesn't mean saying yes to everything they ask just because they helped you once. Real family, real love, doesn't manipulate, doesn't lie, doesn't trap you with guilt and obligation. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no to someone you love, even if they raised you, even if you owe them everything, even if walking away feels like betrayal, because staying would have destroyed me, and Daniel's bad choices weren't mine to fix. If this story resonated with you, here's what I want you to know. If someone asks you to co-sign a loan, even family, verify everything they're telling you. Check the loan documents yourself. Ask why they need a cosigner. Understand that if they default, you're 100% responsible. And if someone lies to get your signature, if the story doesn't match the paperwork, that's fraud. You don't owe them protection from the consequences of their own deception. I know it's hard. I know it feels like betrayal. I know family is supposed to help each other. But help doesn't mean letting someone ruin you financially while lying to your face. It doesn't mean taking the fall for their bad decisions. And it doesn't mean staying silent while they destroy your credit, your savings, your future. Subscribe for more stories, because sometimes the person who saved you once is the same person who will destroy you later if you let them. My name is Jessica Park. I'm 34 years old, and I'm the woman who chose her own survival over her brother's lies. He's in prison. I'm rebuilding. And I'd make the same choice again, because saving yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary.